joining us for another live episode today. I do have. There we go. We're on both of them now. We got YouTube up here. But yeah, welcome everyone. If you're watching live, say hey. Drop in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. If you are watching the replay, just drop in hashtag replay, and you can also let us know where you're watching from. But yeah, if you have any questions, we're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about how you can use money as a tool in your life and to create a life that you desire, and which is something that I wish I had learned a decade before I did. But yeah, I'm very excited to talk with Michelle Lucas today. She is my guest. She is here, I believe. We're reversed for the
okay.
the live. I'm not sure, but either way, she is next to me, and yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get started. And I'll bring in your questions, listeners, whenever it makes sense. So feel free to drop those in at any time. But yeah. Well, Michelle, welcome to the show. I am excited to have you here. Very excited to talk about money. I know it is a topic that not a lot of people like to talk about because it's just, I don't know, it's weird talking about your money, but it is something that I love to talk about. So I was very excited whenever I found you and just the topic of using your money as a tool to create the life that you desire. So, Michelle, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. And I agree with you. I feel like we should be talking about money more because everyone has a relationship with money and it's a
Yep.
lifelong relationship and journey. And I feel like the more we talk about it with other people and get comfortable, the more we can learn from other people and really kind of use money as a tool rather than looking at it more of a burden. So I definitely am
Yeah.
trying to break that stigma and that kind of it being so taboo to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It definitely, I feel like the way that I was raised, it wasn't so taboo, but it also wasn't something that we talked about a lot. And we definitely didn't talk about how to use your money for anything more than just like paying the bills.
Right.
It was just like, okay, you're gonna save money, and you also have to pay for like food and gas and that kind of stuff. Um,
Right.
but definitely no talk about how to actually use your money for like as a tool. So I am with you. I think that is so good. I love that you are out here just trying to change that narrative about money to where we're not um, it's not a burden, it's not taboo or anything like that. So is there like a mindset shift that needs to happen for anyone who is like, I don't talk about money, we don't talk about money, it is taboo? Is there a mindset shift to kind of take that from being something that just pays the bills to becoming a tool that we can use?
Of course, so I am founder and owner of my own business called Wallet Therapy. It's a financial coaching business. So when I work with clients, it's really understanding um kind of from childhood, what money looked like. How do you view money? How did your family
Mm,
talk about money? Because a lot of times we adapt, we develop habits maybe from our parents and maybe, little things that, you saw from them or things to protect yourself that you're not really realizing as you're moving forward. To do is I like to bring awareness to their financial situation, create a financial picture of where they currently stand, and really kind of dive deep into how they feel about money, how they view money. I mean, some people don't even like it in their possession. Some people don't even like to touch it. Some people are just like, I don't trust myself with it. I don't want to trust myself. So it's really uncovering those layers because once we uncover those layers, we can really work on your mindset and help you build a healthier relationship with money by focusing on kind of how you already view money and diving deep into your current feelings towards money in general, which could be a
mm,
lot of money brings up so many different emotions and so many different
yeah.
triggers that I don't think people realize. And then sometimes when we're talking deep, they're like, oh, wait, that makes sense. Like we all have money blocks and it's really a lifelong relationship.
Oh yeah. Yeah, is are those money blocks like from you mentioned childhood, are they from like how you are brought up and raised and things that kind of stick with you from a young age of how you view money and maybe how your parents or those around you spoke about money or didn't speak about money? Are
Yeah.
those where those money blocks come from?
A lot of times, yes. And one thing that you can kind of do is I'll give you an one money block that I had was I realized that, in a partnership, I would kind of I wouldn't say I was open about it. I thought I was
Mhm.
open, but I really wasn't being open. And I realized that I was hiding a lot of my finances to protect myself, to kind of have that nest egg in case anything happened, in case we were to lose everything. I had that and could protect it, and they didn't have access to it. And I realized that
Mm.
that was a money block that I had from growing up and the habits that I seen and I created and security because we're in fight or flight, we're humans, we're always trying to protect ourselves and build that mold. So it's really just
Yep.
bringing awareness because I don't think sometimes you realize that you have those things. And even like not just within the home, but you talked about having money just to pay the bills, right? And a lot of people look at
Mhm.
if people are going on vacation or they have an abundance, they're greedy, they're not caring, right? Like they're
Right.
not giving because they have money, but that's not the truth either. Like there's a lot of people who are making money and have money and give money and they're living a fuller life, and what's wrong with that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I grew up, not like super poor, but like we were around the poverty line for a good bit of my childhood, and we would definitely hear other friends that were around that same like kind of socioeconomic stage, um, talk about other people that just like that of like look at them going on vacation again out of state,
Mm-hmm.
and there's people like us who we can't afford to take off time from work or we're working on paying off this or student loans and all that now, and that viewpoint is yeah, I've definitely heard that a lot, and yeah, you're right, that is not true, because one, you don't really know what people do with their own money. They could be, there's a lot of silent philanthropers out there, if I'm saying that word correctly, but there's a lot of people, charity givers, there we go, that give to organizations and stuff that don't wave it from the rooftops. So yeah, I think that's a really good way of looking at things, to where you're not judging other people about what they're doing with their money.
Right. And just because somebody, I've had clients who were like my neighbor, her
Mm.
house is huge and I can't imagine what she'd think. But you never know what people are struggling with behind closed doors. Never know how they
Oh
manage
yeah.
their money. Just because they have certain things or maybe have a nice car doesn't mean they actually have money. Because all of their
Right.
money, they could be in debt. They could be, their credit score could be so low. Like, you just don't know. So I just try to tell my clients to focus on the life that they want to lead, and if they have children, how they want to help and start implementing those conversations. Because if you keep
Hmm.
focusing on everybody else or what you don't have rather than what you do have and how you can build off of that, it's just going to be a downward spiral, a never ending cycle of just being so harsh on yourself. So I really try to
Oh
focus on
yeah.
what's in your control and how you use money to live the life that you want, not necessarily focusing on money as the aspect of focusing on how you would like your life to be. What would that look like for you? What would you be doing? What experiences would you have? What, would you be giving more? Would you be traveling? Would you, be able anything? How would that
Oh
look? And
yeah.
let's paint a picture of that and then work backwards to use there.
Yes. Oh, I love that mindset of just like don't worry about what other people are doing. Pay attention to yourself. Like you can apply that across the board, in your
Mm-hmm.
life, like in like running your business and everything. Just stop comparing yourself to others. Stop looking at what they're doing next door and how big of a house they have and oh, they got a new car, like all those things, but pay attention to yourself and work on what you want. Are there, I mean, for anyone who's listening and just like, I don't know, I actually haven't thought about what I would want, like the life that I would desire to have money wise, and like what I would want to do if I had more money. Because a lot of times, if you are living like paycheck to paycheck, it's like, I don't know, I just want to have a little bit left in my bank account at the end of the month to where I can afford to go out to dinner, or I can afford to go on a vacation or something like that. What would you recommend for someone who maybe hasn't thought about what they would do um, with more kind of freedom once they're using money as a tool instead of just a bill payer?
So I always say the first step is making the decision. Making the decision that maybe if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you just want to be able to go out to eat once in a while or do certain things, is making that decision that you're going to bring awareness to your life and to your
Mm.
situation, to implement some changes. So make the decision, then do your research. Financial literacy. We didn't have that growing up in school. So how we manage our
No.
money is so hard. Reach out to places, talk, ask, investigate, listen to podcasts, right? Reach out to a financial coach like myself to maybe start the process. So really becoming aware with, what are your bills every month? What are your expenses? What are your fixed expenses? And a lot of people don't even know, can't even tell me how much their bills are a month, right? They have it on
Yeah.
auto pay. It's out of sight, out of mind. They know they get their check weekly or biweekly, and I hope my bills are paid. I have it on auto pay, right? So it's having those money dates. I like to say the money dates with yourself. It's a part of self care. Sitting with yourself or with your spouse or your partner and having that 1 hour time doesn't have to be so daunting, right? Like make it fun, do something you like I like to place a candle with a nice set of coffee and some music playing, and I look at it as self-care because I'm helping, like, kind of reevaluating and checking in with my financial situation to help me continue
Hmm.
I want to live. And I don't call my budget a budget because I feel like a lot of times people think of a budget as restrictive or holding you back. I call it my
Yeah.
yes plan, and I look at it as my support system and my best friend. I look at my budget to tell me, yes, you can do these things, but making sure that these things are in place. So really kind of becoming
Yeah.
familiar and aware of your financial picture, because it could be that you're overspending, or it could be an income problem where you have to reevaluate to say, make more money. Maybe I need to ask for a raise. Maybe I'm overspending too much, on DoorDash every week, right? So it's really kind of
Hmm.
becoming familiar with your situation and taking that time to really give it that love and tenderness that it deserves.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, that is. I love the yes plan instead of the budget, because even my wife and I, we both big budgeters before we met. Just like both of us
Oh,
had
awesome.
extreme budgets of like knowing exactly, like we finally had like maybe a couple months into our relationship, we are like, so let's talk about money. And then we both brought up our Excel spreadsheets and we are like, wow, okay, cool,
Yes.
we're both nerds. uh,
I love
but
that so much. I love
yeah,
that.
and but like even telling other people about that or talking to other people about our budgets, it would have that negative connotation toward that word budget. So I love the reframing it into a yes plan of like all of these line items. Yes, this is how much you can spend on rent every month. Yes, this is how much you spend on streaming services for all of the different shows you watch, and all of that. And then you can see, maybe like you said with the DoorDash, I'm a big believer of like delegation and using services like that in order to, like, I'm fine with paying a few extra dollars if it means that I can save some time and I can like continue to work or do the things that I want to do. And I found myself, this is a little tangent, but it's in the name of the show, so it's cool.
Yeah.
uh, I was like, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I'm gonna go with it. But I got into um, a rough time with like fast food and with DoorDash and all of that, because I was like, oh no, it's saving me time, but then whenever I would I would use that time to just like sit and watch Netflix, or I would use that time to not be productive, and I was like, this is not uh, it's not as helpful as it once was at the beginning when I was like, I've got so much work to do. I'm just going to DoorDash and I'm going to eat while I'm working, and this will be great. It's fine to spend that extra $5. And then I just got into the habit of, oh, well, I really want to watch this show, so I'm just going to DoorDash and then watch the show instead of being productive. So yeah, I don't know why I brought that up. It's just something that popped into my head. So I guess just be careful with those if you do have those things, or maybe while you're assessing your yes plan, you can assess like, do I really need to be spending this much on DoorDash? Do I really need to be eating out this often? All of those things.
One question, I mean, even with that, is this like
Mm-hmm.
the example that you gave and what we're kind of talking about? Is this helping me live the life I want to live? Right. So even in those instances where it's like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you do just need to relax and watch that movie and just have DoorDash, and that's great. But when you find it becoming a pattern and you're not necessarily, it's not intentional in the sense of the way you want to live your life, and it's not helping you take the steps to get there, then that's something
Yeah.
that you may want to reevaluate. And it's definitely that mindset shift too, and it's checking in with yourself and being mindful and aware of what's really truly fulfilling you in your life and your lifestyle and making you happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Checking in. Like that is, you mentioned that earlier about having like your bills on auto pay and like all of the things where it's like, I don't know how much I spend every month because everything is auto pay and everything is taking care of itself. I just have this debit card that I go and swipe at places.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, being able to check in and just see where your money is actually going. There's a lot of those apps I've been seeing advertisements for them where it'll go through all your subscriptions and be like, did you know that you're still paying $15 a month for this thing? It's like, nope, I haven't used that in 2 years. I
Right.
could use that money. We we recently did that with like Audible and Kindle subscriptions and stuff, all these Amazon subscriptions that we once had but don't really use them anymore, and we're like, we're still paying for all of this, and we didn't realize we were paying for all of this. So that was a recent realization for us.
And it adds up if you have a few of those and you're like, hey,
Yeah,
this is money I could be placing, in a vacation fund, in a high yield savings account, and making
yeah.
money off of, and moving that money over here. And it's kind of like small sometimes the subscriptions you don't really realize, or
Mm,
you're like, oh, whatever, but they really do add up. So that's why I say the money dates at least once a month, just
yes.
like an hour, just to check in with yourself, check in with your money. And looking at what you're spending your money on will really tell you a lot about yourself, and you
Hmm.
can make some pivots and make some changes, and really kind of evaluate what's happening in your life.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. You mentioned a high yield savings account. For anyone who's like, I don't know what this is my savings account high yield? Like, could you go into a little bit of that? And also, if you're asking that question, the answer is no. Your savings account is not high yield.
The thing about kind of brick and mortar, we can I'll just give one example. Bank of America, that's like a brick and mortar. You can actually go to the physical location.
Hmm.
um, if you have a checking and a savings account there, your savings account is probably earning you like maybe 0.02 or zero point 0.1. I'm not along those lines. They have a lot of overhead, they have employees, they have systems in place, they have a lot of expenses, right? So it's the idea of these online secure banks like Ally Bank, Lending Tree, I think, is an online bank. There's another one too, I can't think of it, but they are able to offer higher interest rates because they don't have as much overhead, right? They don't have
Hmm.
physical locations. You're still able to automatically transfer. They still have the securities as these other banks. But I think, like, for example, right now, last I checked, the interest rate was 3.75%, right? Compared to 0.02 that you would be
Yeah.
getting at just your local bank that maybe you've had since you could 10 years old when you first opened a bank account. You can stay with that
Mm-hmm.
bank, but you can also open up this other bank account and start creating, and earning more money, especially if you're not at the point where you have all of this cash flow where you can start investing, which is where a financial advisor comes into play. But a financial coach really helps you kind of with the basics to set up that foundation and help you kind of gain control over your money in general. And really having that, savings account. For example, like Ally Bank, it has that high interest rate, but it also has buckets, right? So it's the idea of, hey, I have this savings account, and let's say maybe I want to start saving for a vacation fund, an emergency fund for 6 months in case I lose my job or anything. So you can have these buckets where it automatically puts certain money in, maybe twice a month, once a month, and it'll show you, if you have a goal, it'll even show you how close you are to reach that goal. So it's just another
Ooh,
way that you can earn more for your, because this is the thing, make your money make money for you, right? Like,
yes.
don't just spend it all and give it away. Like, if you don't tell your money where to go, it's going to decide for you, and it'll be all gone. You have to tell. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you who missed that, Michelle, you just said traditional brick and mortar places, your savings account's getting like 0.02% interest on that money in there. So you have $1,000 in there. That's like what, $2? 20 cents? 20 cents maybe?
Yeah,
It's
not
not a
much.
lot. And three and a half, 3.7% interest is like 150 times more, yielding 150 times more than that 0.02%. So that is an insane difference where you're not doing anything with that money anyway. Like, it is savings.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally an emergency fund, or it is savings for, you know, something later on, and that money is just sitting there, and it could be making 150 times more than what it currently is. So that is huge. And yeah, I mean, that is letting your money work for you instead of it just sitting there. Because that was something, like, we talked about how, you don't talk about money a lot growing up. I'd never heard of a high yield interest account, or
Mm-hmm.
high yield savings account. There we go.
Yep, there you
Um,
go.
until I was like 30. And then I was like, what is this? How can I set up this? So
Yeah,
thank you for giving us the how today too, where we can, and I'll
no
have links
problem.
in the show notes for y'all to like go and set up account. Is there a limit? Do you know, like a minimum? Like, you can't, I know like a lot of like Bank of America, like you said, you can start a savings account with like $5. Is there a minimum limit for anyone who's like, I really only have like maybe $50 in my savings? Can I move that over to a high yield, or do you need to like get to a certain point?
It varies, but I feel like I know some of them are zero, and then start putting
Okay.
money into it. So I would just do your research, and I really, a lot of my clients like Ally, it's ALLY Bank. So if you guys look up, maybe after this you can go and see, but I know some of them do have, zero minimum, or even like $5. So I would definitely just look
Yeah.
into it and maybe plan to start saving that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's so good. And you also mentioned about, like, if you don't tell your money where to go and what to do, it's gonna find its own way. That was something recently that, I mean, just this year, I had heard that from another photographer friend who was talking about money and how, like, she'll just be like, I need $7,500 by the end of the month in order to do this thing. And she puts it out there and sets a plan for that money, and then she'll, like, book a wedding for $7,500 or something, and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there we go, now I have this money. And my wife and I started doing that, where we, I guess it was like kind of late last year, really started being intentional about what our money is going to do, instead of just looking at our budget and figuring out how to pay the bills. We're like, okay, we want to do that, but we also want to attack this credit card debt over here, and we want to start saving in this savings account over here. And the amount of money that has just like come into our lives in the last 6 months is insane. And I was like, yeah, we're telling the money where we want it to go and what we want to do with it. And now it's actually doing that instead of just throwing it out there and be like, I don't know. I don't know what
Right.
this money is going to do. I'm just, yeah, hoping that, I'll become a millionaire someday
Yeah.
and don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. And that's kind of what it's all about is if you feel like you're just kind of, what do you call it, like a hamster wheel, and you're just going, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to stay that way. It doesn't have to be that way. You can really stop,
Yeah.
take a beat, pause, and really kind of sit back and be intentional with your spending. And also get in touch with your values. Are you spending money on things that you value in life? Is,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of when you're putting that out there, you're pausing more, you're becoming more intentional already because you're having those conversations with yourself. So
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So do you recommend, because I talked to, I mentored different photographers and creative entrepreneurs often, and I get like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have money to invest in this. I don't have like the extra income anywhere. Um, do you have like maybe some next steps for them to just really start, yeah, I don't know, either saving or investing or something to make their money work for them? Is it really, I mean, kind of what we've already talked about with assessing, setting up that money date to sit down and figure out a yes plan and all of that? Is that a good like first step?
Yeah, I think awareness is really the first step. So,
Mm,
really checking in subscriptions. Where is my money going? Kind of doing an audit. Pull your bank statements for the past 30 days if this is your first time. Where's all of my money going? Where
mm,
can I cut back? Why do I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck? Is it an income issue? Is it because I'm paying toward all this debt? Okay, do I want to keep paying towards debt? Because that's another thing. If your plan is to get out of debt, what are some steps that you can take to be aggressive with it? And really, in the same time that you're paying off debt, you can also be improving your credit score. So using your debt as a tool too during this time
mm.
that maybe it's like carrying a lot of weight on you to really improve your credit score. So once you're done paying it off, you're in a better position also within, your credit score within your credit score, sorry, and society, and going after the things that you want. Um, and sometimes, like a lot of times, it's overwhelming for people to sit down, overwhelming to look at a spreadsheet or even paper, and that's when you should ask for help. There's people like me, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
friends and family, but just remember, friends and family take their opinions and just take it as that, right? Like, you don't have to do everything
Yeah.
that they say. Everyone's relationship with money is different. And when I work with clients, it's not me telling them what they need to do. It's me helping them find a management system that'll work best for them, that makes them feel like they're confident, empowered, and in control of their finances. And I really support them and hold them to it, and really help them along on their journey.
Yes. And that's what we all want to be, is confident, empowered, and in control of our finances, because
Yeah.
money feels like, if you're not confident about your money, if you're not in control of it, you're not empowered. It feels daunting, especially whenever you are like, you feel like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I don't have any extra money, I'm putting stuff on credit cards that I can't pay off, and all of that, that does not feel empowering. But a lot of times that is because you don't know where your money is going, and you don't see, because there are times where you will see, oh yeah, I have this subscription, I probably don't need this right now, or let me pause this for 3 months or something, because a lot of subscriptions will do that, and that allows you to really take more control over your money. Do you have, that this is, I don't know, it's a different question, but do you have any recommendations for, or any thought on credit cards? because I know a lot of people, like I was raised to run away from them, to cut up any credit card. You don't want to have a credit card, no debt, anything like that. What are your thoughts on using credit cards, like for like the points and all that kind of stuff?
I like your question. Really good.
Okay.
So a little backstory for me personally. I was in college, college student, and I had some medical issues. So I maxed out all of my credit cards, like
Mm-hmm.
completely. Sometimes didn't even have gas money. My credit score was in the tank. Today, and for probably the past 4 years now, I've been credit card debt free, and I'm medical debt free, but I still use my
Nice.
credit card, and I
Congratulations.
use it. Thank
Yeah.
it every month to improve my credit. Idea is I don't carry a balance on it, so I'm not paying the interest rate on it, right? So every month I
Mm-hmm.
use no more than, for me personally, I tell my clients use between 10 to 30% utilization. So let's say you have a credit limit of $1,000. You want to use between $100 and $300 of it, and not to go over that 30%, because once you go over that 30% utilization, so if you're using more than
Mm-hmm.
$300, it's going to kind of make your credit score go down. But if you're under that 30%, it can actually help improve it. So what I do is I get the points. I'm showing that I'm making payments on it, because 35% of your score, which is a big chunk of your score.
Oh wow.
You want to
Yeah.
make sure you're making those payments every single month. So what I do is, when I receive the statement and the statement due date and the payment date, I pay it off completely before the payment is due. So I'm showing that positive payment history on my credit score. I'm
Mm-hmm.
staying under the 30% utilization, which is good, which helps boost your score. And you could be getting those reward points at the same time and not carrying a balance over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how I
Okay.
use it. That's a
Amazing. Yeah.
lot. That's
That's
a lot.
that's
Yeah.
a lot, but that is so helpful. Because that is all stuff I didn't know for the
Okay.
longest
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Because I had opened like a travel credit card a few years ago, and really wasn't using it much because was a little bit afraid of that, getting
Mm-hmm.
into crazy debt, and was always taught stay away from credit cards. Grew up, full Dave Ramsey, all of that kind of stuff, money in envelopes and all the thing.
Yeah.
And then started heard that on a podcast, I think the Money with Katie show, where she talked about just that, using your credit cards, but only a certain amount, up to a certain amount, and paying that off every month. And you can incorporate that into your money date, where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to be looking at where my money is going, and also this is the day that I pay off my credit cards every
Exactly.
month. And having that to where you're not, like, it's definitely a slippery slope if you are someone who's looking at your checking account like, I got all this money, but you've already spent $500 on your credit card. You got to keep tabs of where it is. But yeah, like we just booked a flight yesterday for my wife to go see her 97-year-old grandmother for
Aw.
$11, because we used all the points and still have some left, but the $11 is like the taxes and fees that you can't use points toward. So we're
Yeah.
like, yeah, we got essentially a free ticket
We've
just
got this.
because. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, this is great. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's I don't know, that was probably like $200-300 or so that ticket would have been.
Yeah.
So just because we've been putting stuff on that credit card and then paying it off every month, we got a $300 plane ticket for free.
That's amazing.
So yeah,
See,
it
yes.
is.
Yeah.
Uh, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, this is stuff that I wish I knew in my 20s, because I was like, my 20s
Mhm.
would have been so different. I'm like 35 now, almost. So yeah, this is great. So listeners, listen to what Michelle's talking about. And we'll have kind of a breakdown of all this in the show notes as well if you want to reference that, or just skip back to the beginning, listen again, take notes, because this is all very powerful stuff to really get empowered when it comes to your money. So Michelle, I've
Can I
loved this.
just?
This has
Oh,
been yeah.
sorry. I just wanted to, before I
Go.
forget, touch on the whole aspect of the credit card too, because I know a lot of people may think
Yes.
of using a credit card as an emergency, right? Like if I can't afford something, swipe
Mm,
my credit card. Should maybe start thinking about saving for an emergency fund, and that's about 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses at least covered, or maybe something like towards car repairs, which is like a sinking fund, or house repairs, and start saving, even if it's ten
mm,
dollars here and there. Start just putting it in these accounts, a high yield savings account, so that way when you could use your credit card, but then you have that money in that emergency fund to pay it to gain the points or rewards from it. So start changing that mindset around a credit card being used for an emergency, and rather already establishing a fund for that. Just a little before
yes.
we go.
I
Sorry, I
love
had to
that.
add that one.
Yeah. No, and that is so good. Thank you for adding that. And also, like with our savings account, we set that up to be an automatic withdrawal from our normal checking.
Yeah.
So it's like in all those automatic payments that you already have set up, and just automatically pay into that high yield savings account, to where you don't have to think about every month, okay, yeah, I need to move, $50 over there, or I need to move whatever.
Right.
um, it's you can set it up to be automatic, and be yielding some good high interest for you.
Yeah.
So okay, amazing, Michelle. This has been so good. Before we get to like where people can follow you and all that, there is a part of the show that I like to talk about what we're loving this week. So this could be, a new book or a TV show, or really anything that you're loving. But yeah, what are you loving this week?
I live in New England, so I'm loving this weather recently and being able to just be outside and go
Nice.
on walks. I love being outside and I love walking. So that's something that I'm really enjoying right now, and I don't want to go away.
Nice. So it is
Mm-hmm.
like nice spring weather for you right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
loving it.
that's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's great. That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. Actually, like we got a cool front, and we've had a lot of rain here in Texas, or like this Houstonish area part of Texas, this last week. So it is tampered our 90 something
Mm.
degrees that we've had recently. So yeah, weather has also been pretty nice, which I love the rain. I asked my wife to marry me in like a pouring monsoon type rain. So anytime it's
Uh,
just like pouring rain, it was not like notebook type, like lifting her up and spinning around. Although we did go dance in the street, which was just like a river of water. But
that
yeah,
is so
anytime
adorable.
anytime that it is pouring rain, we're just like, oh yeah, remember that time.
Oh, I
So
love
yeah,
that.
so I've been enjoying the rain, and our kids just love to play the game Will It Float, and just take toys from their room and throw it into the street. Just see,
I love,
and hopefully catch them before they go down the drain.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess similar to that, or in the same raining theme. I don't know. I'm loving a show I just wrapped up on Netflix called High Water. Um, I love these shows about like natural disasters and stuff. I'm in another life I would have been like a storm chaser type
Oh,
person.
wow.
Um, but yeah, it's over the true story of a a huge flood in 1997 in Poland, and it's a Polish show, so you're either going to be listening to it in Polish with subtitles, or I just watched the English dubbed. But yeah, it was very interesting about the whole story, and how certain things that if they had done one thing, it would have changed the outcome of
Oh,
everything.
wow.
And yeah, is an interesting show. And I don't know if they just like flooded these cities or something for the show, or if it was all CGI or something, but it looked very real, whatever sets they were on. So yeah, I liked it. It's on Netflix. It's like 6 episodes or something. But yeah, if you like natural disaster type stuff, it's a good show.
That's a good recommendation.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Michelle, where can people find you? Where can they follow along? Where can they reach out to you if they're like, hey, I need a coach. I need someone to help me with my finances. Where can they find you online?
Okay, so my website is wallettherapy.net. I'm also on Instagram at wallet_therapy. If you just want to chat, you can set up a call. It's a free call, 20-minute call. You don't know where to start. You're overwhelmed. You know you want to change, but you don't know where, or you just want to follow for some tips and get connected. Definitely reach out to me and book a call through my website, wallettherapy.net, or find me on Instagram at wallet_therapy. I'm here to chat.
Perfect.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, that's amazing. That is so good. So yeah, listeners, take advantage of that. Like, get set up that 20-minute call with Michelle and really, take over your finances. It's is definitely something that will empower you and move you forward in life, closer to that life that you desire. So
Yes.
amazing. I will have links to all that in the show notes, so that everyone can reach out. And yeah, Michelle, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you, John, so much. It's been amazing.
All right. Well, YouTube, Facebook, thank you for